Welcome to Coffee Talk. I'm Kelley Knitz.
And I'm Ann Top.
Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about selling your home as an owner, or in this business it's called a FSBO, for sale by owner. And there are several things you should consider before making that decision. We're going to go through some of those. The first thing I want to talk about is getting the house ready for sale. Ann's got quite a bit of experience with that. And a lot of times homeowners just don't understand how important the staging part of the house is when going to sell a home for sale by owner.
Yes, it's very important that you declutter. And I know everybody hears that word, but it's very important. Organize your closets, clean carpets, fresh paint if needed. Um, Try to remove all the magnets and pictures off the refrigerator and all the things off your counters. It just makes it look cleaner and bigger and more fresh for the people who are looking at it.
Yes, both Ann and I have both earned our staging designation, so we're professional home stagers. And they always say less is better. If somebody's going through your house and they open up a cupboard and things are falling out, they're just not going to think there's
Yeah,
enough room for their family.
right,
So
exactly.
that's a very good point. So you have to be educated about that, the placement of the furniture and all that. So then the other thing that we want to talk about is, are you prepared to qualify your buyer? Is your buyer prepared to buy? And the biggest thing that I sell about myself and our team really is our experience. Many times there are loan officers out there that will issue a pre-approval, and many times they just can't get them to the closing table. Realtors are like lenders are like realtors.
Right. I actually had a buyer who he and his girlfriend, they both had houses to sell, and they were buying a home through me, but they insisted that they could sell their own homes. And I said, okay, that's fine. And he actually ended up getting an offer on his house, taking it off the market, and the buyer of his house could never get to the closing table. He was, he was not really pre-approved. So he had to go back through the process and put it back on the market. And he did end up selling it himself, but he did go through a lot of anguish. And, you know, and talking to someone about that is difficult too.
Very uncomfortable
Yeah,
to ask somebody.
like, how are your finances?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, what's your credit score? I mean,
Yeah.
just to ask somebody that, that type of personal information is very awkward. And it's awkward for the buyer also. And that's why buyers really like to develop a relationship with the realtor. They probably already have one, and they're out looking at houses with their realtor. So they'll probably ask their realtor to show them the house anyway. So you're going to be paying a commission anyway, nine times out of 10. I get requests all the time to look at for sale by
Right.
owners.
Right.
And the other thing that's important too is, what are the effective ways of advertising? You're very limited as a for sale by owner.
Right. I mean, you can post on Zillow and things like that.
But I think our multiple listing service is really the biggest source of advertising, because through broker reciprocity it gets fed out to all these other websites, and there are
Right.
1,400 agents that belong to our local board alone, and all of the buyers that they're working with. So that is really a big part of it, quite honestly.
I agree with
And
that.
then you also, one of the biggest things really is setting the pricing of your home. And I've seen so many for sale by owners underestimate the value. They could have made more money by listing it with a realtor, or gotten closer to the asking price.
That's
And
right. A lot of times they devalue, or sometimes they make the opposite mistake. They price it too high at the very beginning, and people know, that people either if they're working with a buyer's agent, or they just know that that's too high for that neighborhood or whatever. But everybody thinks their house is the best house, and that's part of the problem.
and they don't realize also, a for sale by owner doesn't realize that the home buyer is thinking, boy, they just want to save a commission. I'm taking the commission off that price,
Yeah, that's
because
true. Yeah.
so it's kind of a psychological thing. And why not just have a realtor handle it and take all the stress away? I mean, there's
There is a lot of stress because you have to manage the appointments. You have to, besides the fact that if you have an agent, you've got to get ready for showings. But here you're managing, you're taking the phone calls or the emails, and at least maybe working through an agent, you're going to at least for sure have a buyer show up because they're
Right.
with a professional.
And there's some security issues involved. You're letting
Right.
anybody who can walk, talk, and chew
Yeah.
gum in your house, and so that's not always a smart thing to do. Um, and then the other thing that you want to really prepare for are to, return all the phone calls. I mean, I have some rental properties, and a lot of times, people will say, oh, we'll look at it Saturday at 2 and they don't show up, and it's really frustrating.
Can be, yeah.
I mean, you can have an open house, but you should really be coached on how to have an effective open house. I mean, there are things that you can do, but it's a kind of a difficult process, and it's been proven that only 1% of the time, research shows a house does sell for sale by an owner. Typically, they end up listing with the realtor. So if you want some advice, on that, please call us. We'd be happy to talk with you about that. I do have a for sale by owner manual that I'd be happy to get in your hands. So thanks for listening to our coffee talk about being a for sale by owner.